we got to talk about one of my favorite topics. We got to talk about Verzuz. So, Verzuz got acquired. I like that. Acquired by Triller, right? And so the first thing I thought of, what did that mean? What's happening? You just signed a deal with Apple. We were doing so well. What's going on? What more? How did you sell this? What's happening, right? So for all the YouTube viewers, you can see this. My audio people, of course, I'm going to read this to you. But it says, Verzuz has been acquired by Triller Network. Verzuz will continue to stream on Instagram and now also on Triller. Every artist who did a Verzuz is now a shareholder in Triller Verzuz. Swizz and Timbaland will now oversee music strategy at Triller.
Wow.
Let me go straight into the video so we can discuss. I need y'all to understand why this is a big deal.
We want ownership from other people, but we don't give ownership to each other. We want respect from other people, but we don't give respect to each other. Triller. Everybody got to go download Triller now. Let me tell you why. Because it has the most creators most creators that are owners in any company in the world. The most Black and brown people are owners at Triller than any other. We brought 43 people with us. They already had 30 people over there that are owners of color and creators.
Wow. That's huge.
Moose, you want to start this? You want?
Yeah,
tell me how you feel.
I think that was my favorite part of the deal, man. Like going through, and I think we talked about it as soon as it popped up. I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. Yep. And then I'm like, whoa, ownership for everyone who's contributed. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And when you think of just, now, of course, the details, they haven't let too much out. I was like peeking around trying to see, well, how much, what's going on, but not too much was really revealed.
Right.
My intuition tells me maybe about a month ago, there was a picture that Swizz Beatz posted with Jay. You know, like they were like kicking it at his house or something like that. And then he came back and said, oh, this is what we were talking about. But it was, of course, about one of Jay's deals.
Yeah.
But this deal is structured so similar to the way Jay-Z has done his deals over the past few weeks that it gives you some sort of feeling like, okay, my man definitely took a page out of Jay's book to say, I'm going to give you what I've created, but not only in exchange for money, but you're going to make me also part owner of what you have. So you pay me for what I created, but you give me an opportunity to run it and contribute into what you've done. So it's like there's a win-win there, of course, because of the creativity that they've created with this concept. But then that big piece, and I'm sure you have some things that you want to add to it, but the icing on the cake of giving other people ownership, despite their contributions and the fact that they got paid. So it's like, yeah, they contributed to the idea. They got paid through streams and all these other things.
Yep.
But also now you're an owner in the company. So I think, yeah, that's just so dope, man. So dope.
First off, this is like the third week or something that we're talking about selling, you know, the business. But even when we look back at the whole title situation, there was numbers that came out after that was like those people who were the starting artists of Tidal, they all got a certain mil. I think it was like 8 mil or something. And now that we're hearing about this Triller acquisition or Verzuz acquisition, but now each of the people who battled so far are shareholders. Like, and I find that very interesting, first off, because that's a lot of shareholders. All right, that's a lot of people who already did battles, right? But my question, to be honest with you, is what happened to Apple? That's a big platform. Let's not, you went from a very big platform to an app that, you know, is starting to make a lot of wave, right? Because you think
similar
about
to
it.
Snapchat, right? Like
Yeah.
Triller's like similar to Snapchat in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Snapchat, TikTok kind of vibe. But clearly after the Mike Tyson fight and some of the things that they've been starting to do, clearly it's doing something. They're trying to make a different direction because I think from understanding that, okay, we're somewhat similar from a video format standpoint of TikTok. And instead of necessarily trying to beat them, let's try to create something different, right? And the crazy thing is, I downloaded Triller for the first time today since I had nothing but time because of my computer. But, you know, whatever. It's not the point. It's not the point. But at the same time, like I looked at it and the format is somewhat similar to TikTok. But what I like is that they have like a Triller TV and I can see where the Verzuz and I think Fat Joe is on there now. Like a lot of stuff is happening. And it's great to see that it has minority shareholders, a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot. And so for looking at this from an idea, and I've stated this so many times, from an idea to now being sold. First, it was from an idea to coming reality, from an idea to them becoming on a streaming platform. But now from an idea to being sold, that is huge. And not only that, is that these two are still going to have a hand in it, as well as the music strategy of Triller.
Yeah.
Because they're doing a sports section as well, right? But what I did see, hold on, let me go back to it real quick. What I did see, very specific. Every artist who did Verzuz is a shareholder of Triller Verzuz. Not necessarily all of Triller,
right?
But Triller Verzuz. So that's interesting to me, right? Which is fair, right? You're going to bring all these artists, you're going to say you're going to own the whole app. Let's not do that, right? So that particular part. But my question, and I want to have that discussion, is because they are owners now, right? Do you think that all these 40-something artists are going to play a part of it, or are they just owners?
Yeah. So the cool thing about being a shareholder is that you're not so much involved into the day-to-day or the operations, but you have, and I'm just going to assume that they almost distributed stock amongst those 43 individuals and said, okay, let's say we have 100 million common stock. Each of the members is going to get automatically just 1 million shares.
Yeah.
So like now each of them have 1 million shares. That gives them assets into the company. And should they at some point decide to sell it, should they at some point decide to cash in, that this is then how they get their returns. So that's what my automatic thought is, just the way the deal is structured. I'm sure there's going to be more information that comes out, but I would hope, Nicky, just kind of through my personal opinion, I would hope that they're not involved in the day-to-day, because to have 43 people involved into running an organization. Now, granted, if that department or that arm of the brand is so big that it needs that many large leaders, or I shouldn't say large leaders, just like head honchos, whatever that can really help push it, then sure, I guess it works. But I can't see it, at least this early in the game, having all of them being involved from an operational standpoint. I think Tim and Swizz are still going to lead that out, but they're involved. It's like, all right, your name is a part of the contract.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing some of them come back and give an input. I wouldn't mind. Now, all of them no, but I wouldn't mind. But I am interested to see what is to come, because the last verses that I saw was the D'Angelo one. It was like D'Angelo and Friends, right? And that's not a verses, right? That's was a concert.
Right.
And granted, I normally do recaps of like, and it's funny because a lot of our listeners was like, yo, you ain't talk about the D'Angelo verses. Like, you've been highly documenting the verses. You have not talked about that. And I didn't talk about it because I was like, it wasn't a verses. It was a concert.
Right.
And it wasn't even Friends. It was like 3 people. I'm expecting when you bring Friends, and maybe this is just me from like old concerts and everything. You say Friends, you're coming out with like 7 other artists, and they're all here. It was like Method Man, Redman, and I think Her, and I can't remember anybody else. I don't think there was anybody else. I think that was it. It's not Friends. That's your people.
Yeah.
Like that's not Friends. That's like people who came through. But I see there's going to be a different change, right? From just verses to maybe just highlighting some of the artists. And clearly we've seen the benefits of their streams going up. Like, I know I was playing D'Angelo, like, man, I could really appreciate this music now compared to before, right?
Right.
Before, I'm gonna be honest, I just thought D'Angelo was just whining a lot, and I wasn't really listening. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm like, yo, why are you whining? I don't get it. But I don't even remember how old I was when D'Angelo came out. I don't remember. But I am excited to see what Verzuz does. I am excited that there is ownership still with it between Swizz and Tim, because what I was scared about is like, you just give that up, right? And clearly that's not the case. They still have ownership and they still have clear direction of what that's going to be. So that's going to be huge. My question to you, Moose, is what do you think is going to happen when the summer comes?
Yeah. They have their work cut out for them. To be honest with you, Nick, like, while we've all really gave a tremendous amount of credit and props to Swizz and Tim for putting this whole thing together and making it into like a legit cultural phenomenon. In many ways, it's helped a lot of people get through quarantine and the pandemic. It's been a big hit.
Yeah.
But I believe they really have their work cut out for them. You know, from one part of it, there was talk about, well, imagine this being like Verzuz done live, where 2 artists are doing this in front of a live crowd. Phenomenal. But at some point, I believe there's got to be that transition that takes the brand and the movement to the next level, or it's going to face some resistance of like, all right, cool, like, we've done this, we're accustomed to it. And I think everyone goes through it. There's a natural progression of like, it's new, it's really, really hot. But then as other people start to adapt, what is going to be that Verzuz 2.0 that's going to really wow the crowd and say, okay, like, these boys are here to stay, or we really want to rock with them forever. Because like, yeah, I think of just other companies who've had to make that big transition, right? It's like, we saw Apple do it. We saw Beats by Dre do it. We saw a lot of companies do it. In the tech space, I can't compare it to Verzuz because there's not many like it. But I would be curious to see, all right, you know, you got some challenges ahead of you once the world opens up. But that 2.0 Verzuz, I think, is going to really show a lot and say it's going to be the big, you know, deciding factor. Like, yo, we're here to stay kind of thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're starting to do pay-per-views. So if the Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, which was under Triller, was a pay-per-view, I could imagine some of the bigger names are going to be a little bit more interested now, just because they saw this move and say, oh, they're shareholders. Hold on. So maybe the next move that you make, right, we could be a part of that if we're in this. So I think now they see there's a bag clearly into this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's true. Like the big hitters, like the Jays and the Drakes and all these guys, they still haven't really pulled out
I don't
yet.
think
So
Jay's
it's like,
coming. No.
you don't think so?
I don't
Not
think-
even on like a big,
No, I don't.
the holy grail of
I
it,
don't.
no?
No, I don't. I don't think that. I don't think that. I think, and I don't think he's going to battle anybody. I think that would be more of a whatchamacallit. That's more of a just like a D'Angelo thing. It'd be Jay-Z and friends. And that'd be something, especially if the world stays semi-closed. I could see that happening, right? But the world's about to open up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's about to open up. That's all I gotta say.
It's happening. Yeah, slowly but surely, I see it happening.
Yeah,
Slowly but surely, it's happening.
Yeah.
I just thought, hey, with his relationship with Swizz, like they seem to be pretty close friends. So it's like, hey, maybe some. What's the? Let me ask you, what's the? What can I pull that on you? Like if we're friends,
Okay.
and you know we're like number one in our industries. Can I
Okay.
pull the friend card to get you in my thing, or is that out of bounds?
I mean, if it makes sense, yeah,
Okay.
it's almost expected. If it makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
I don't, but I don't see him battling anybody. And if he does battle anybody, who would he battle? The only one. Okay, let's have that conversation. Let's do that. Who would Jay-Z battle? So the only one
The
that makes
obvious
sense
guess
to
is
me.
Nas.
No, that doesn't make sense. That's doesn't make sense
No?
to me. That
Really?
no, we need to leave that alone. He got murdered on Ether. Let's just not bring this back for like old good sake. Let's keep it alone. Like let them be. There's already like mini beef, and we talked about it. I don't think it's mini beef,
Yeah.
but it's coincidence that every single time Nas drops, Jay drops. Y'all could check the stats. Even with this last Black Messiah movie situation, they were on the same soundtrack. And of course, Jay-Z got more props because he had a song with Nip. So yeah, I'm over that. Like I don't want to see that battle. And maybe that's me. Maybe you want to. I clearly don't want to see that battle. The only one, the only two that makes sense to me is Kanye or Eminem. Kanye or Eminem. What say you?
Wow. A Jay Kanye battle would be pretty cool though. That would be an interesting little.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. What say you?
I think that would break records. Jay Kanye would break records. That would be. I don't know. But here's the thing though. While we may want to see that, I don't think Jay would agree to battle Kanye because Kanye live. There's no telling what that man's gonna do, and I don't think Jay wants to be in an environment where he can't control,
Right.
how he's going to be perceived or received by the world. So yeah, I think Kanye might be a little too crazy. And he might agree to Eminem, although it won't be as exciting for the viewers. He might agree to it just because it's a safer bet. It's like, okay, M is a little older. He's not as crazy. Maybe I can agree to that. But yeah, that would be one for the records for sure.
That's all I'm saying. I'm saying it should be those two situations. And if it's not, I don't know who else Jay would really battle. And listen, viewers, listeners, all you people, I don't know how you watching this or hearing this or consuming this. I want to know who would you think Jay-Z could battle? Because I honestly don't think there's anybody really he can battle besides those two. Period. Like there's a lot of rappers who have been like, yo, I want Jay. If I'm gonna say somebody, I want Jay. Okay. All right. That's amazing. That's great. But yeah,